right, let me put my earbuds in. Oh crap. Let me actually find Twitch. Twitch is there. Okay, cool. In case anybody actually came in. Oh, thanks for watching this VOD. And yeah, I've got a couple VODs already scheduled from like last week or the week before, and then I've got last week's VODs ready to go. Well, they've been uploaded. I got to get them ready to go scheduled. I'm going to be out the rest of this week at a festival, so I might as well get the VODs scheduled so that I don't forget and then all of a sudden become like weeks behind. Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah, I have no music playing at the moment. Let me try not to blast your ears with music. Forget. Oh, I had that cranked up for the failed stats stream. That like, whoa, that's loud. The failed stats stream experiment where I went to bed and I guess like an hour or two later it just like failed. Let me switch accounts so I don't get the question of am I still here? Since I have premium on my personal account. Should probably get a premium account for the company. Alright, let's see who has wandered in. Cryptini's in here, Hoops is in here, Mad Chrome's in here, Cad's in here, Sneers, Viper, Chess, Solo, Hermit Crag. Was Ice Cube's name Craig on Friday? As soon as I read Craig, for whatever reason, I read it in her voice. You know who I'm talking about? I forget her name. Felicia. I read it in Felicia's voice. Bye, Felicia. Hermit Crag. Hermit Crag got fired on his day off. No, Hermit Crag said, thanks for the playtest. Looking forward to the game. Music and Sky is badass. Hermit Crag just lays there in the sand, staring up at the sky, listening to the music, and that is enough. I've heard those jokes for so many years. Oh yeah, definitely. And if you come in here, you're gonna hear plenty of other old jokes. Servers go down when you start to stream up. Did they actually go down? Let me check Slack and see if the deed was done. That was me not breathing. Raven Corpse said Kurgan. Is that your real name? Kurgan Ramirez. Sarenth, what's going on? Snah, Sunday online guy. You're welcome, son. Did you win? Oh man. Ishwatari, moin moin. Schick Brill. Ich hab jetzt zwei neue Paar. These are my long side. This is for seeing long. This is for seeing the monitor. Hoffentlich alles geht gut bei dir. Saren said, thanks for playtest. You and the M&M team have been killing it. Hey, thank you. Glad you guys enjoyed it. What's up, Rook? Death Rider. Everil. Orcish Morkish. Olaf, Dadvik. Who else we got in here? Addiction. Turn the servers back on, please. I don't know how to do that. I barely know how to operate. Can you actually hear me? Is the music too loud? Barely know how to operate my phone. There was a riot at the West Gate. Right on. In honor of Ozzy. I think I've told the story before, but one of my mom's favorite stories about when I was growing up, when she was in her young and in her 20s, her and my dad were part of a massive brawl at an Ozzy Osbourne concert in Germany. She came home with busted up knuckles, and her palms were cut from her fingernails where she was, I guess, she was swinging and had her hands closed. And I guess that's the thing if you've got long nails. That's my parents, man. So my Ozzy died 2 days before the 1 year anniversary of my dad's death. And so we were joking around the house that Ozzy had to make it up there in time to celebrate with my pop. My dad was very into metal. Gabby Ghoulish, you were just here. Right on. I'm excited to hear what you guys think. Ravencorp said test was amazing. We're going to talk all about it tonight. We're not going to do anything else. We're just going to talk about the test if you don't mind. Rougarou. Ja, sehr gut. Plus 20 IQ-Punkte. I need it. Jonah, hello. Thank you for the follow. Ravencorpse, thank you for the follow. Crewval, thank you. I didn't even notice that was going on. Gabby, thank you. Hask777, thank you. Hey, buddy, you want to put hair on my shirt? Fur on my shirt right off the bat? Okay, we can just do it at the beginning, and I'll just have hair on my shirt the whole rest of the stream. That'll work. Can I reach around yourself here and get my mouse? That'll work. All right, family stream. Shira Ambusher, exactly. Skeleton. A Linux fan, thank you for the follows. You initially heard that is I'm going to take off my shirt. We'll save that for early access launch, COD. Perez said, hey Sean, while I was playing on a playtest every night outside Night Harbor, I would see people just chatting around a campfire near Westgate. I really think you and the team are on the right path of creating a third place for people. Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for that. It's honestly, it's so cool to see that type of stuff, or to see just like, I would say with the exception of day one, because this happens day one of every test, you know, there's a little Mr. Silly's hanging out in OOC in day one and maybe trying to be a little bit of a nuisance, but everywhere I went, a lot of time in Night Harbor answering petitions on various servers, a lot of just like positive like people helping each other out. It's just red light community to me. Snoozy ZZ, thank you for the follow. So thank you very much for that, Perez. Yamira PG, hello there. Yaba said maybe some of y'all other users have opinions. How old is too old to get into game development for those who have some programming experience and they're picking up holistically in the field? I don't think that's really going to just be on you. I think you can dig into, I mean, it's just learning, right? And in theory, we can just keep learning until we die, whenever that may be. Hopefully for everybody in here, it's like when you're all 1,000 years old. Sneer said Ozzy's in good hands with your pops. Oh, they're probably, it's probably been a, hopefully they didn't get kicked out. That's all I'm going to say. Any idea when we'll get detailed tests for this test like we did back in April? We could look at some today. The only reason why I didn't do them with the only reason why I didn't post them out with that last update is we were kind of looking at some numbers and we weren't sure if they were being pulled properly. then I got busy and stuff. So we may look at some stats like right in a few minutes even. Hey Quatos. How you doing, boo? It's, you know what? Quatos, I actually feel really weird that you're in here and I can't hear you. I'm like, I like it better when I'm in your chat and I get to hear your sultry voice. Oh, and good job on spawning Ashwagandha or whatever I named him. I really probably should just rename him so that even I can pronounce it. Good job spawning the Bone Drake, and good effort there. It was nice to see you guys die in a way that felt noble. Hey, Just Drop, Doggeroni. Biscuit, he is both, I think he is both Haradral, like when he's got his mean face, and he's Surfall, Eltindra. He's another god when he's looking a little bit nicer. So far he's 2 gods. Seemed a lot like less sillies this test than last, honestly. I think we have some data that may actually show why, and we'll look at that in a minute. What's up, Hoops? What ballpark are you guys talking about? Game development? You can only imagine the piercings with me without my shirt on. No, I have never had my upper body pierced below the neck. I'm trying to catch up. I skipped around and I missed something. Hey, Encrypt. What's up, Blue Queen? No Ashira body pillow and merch store, but we got one on Caribbean. Yeah, that was a very good goal, and I'm glad you pulled that off. And never say never on the Ashira body pillow. If we find a place that just makes body pillows, Chip, that was an extremely specific way to phrase that. I have learned in my many years of working in corporate environments how to be very specific in my phrasing. What's up, Year Zero? Beep doop. Hello. Careless Rex was taken. Arthax. Cryptidia said performance was good this test after the first day on Rel, though the memory leak still exists. Very long session. It's true. I mean, but like first day on Rel was what, 500 plus in Night Harbor? Quato said, I may know a body pillow guy. Send that info over. What's up, Corvus? Scheiden. Asian Candy, hello. Oh, it's gonna, the downtime is going to pass so fast. It's gonna pass so fast for us, for sure. We've got a lot of stuff that we want to try to get in for September. We've got a lot of stuff. Boat ride was really a really nice view. Hey, yeah, and big kudos to Chip and Ollie, right? Or was it mostly Chip? A little bit of Ollie? Well, I think it was Chip and Ollie that were making the boats work, but I know Chip was doing a lot of work there. Skeleton, hello. I'm trying to skim and make sure I didn't miss anything. What's up, Sweeto94? Fun week. Oh, it was 5 days. I actually forgot that it was almost a week. Audio level's still good? Somebody on YouTube is going to be like, no. But they'll say that like 2 weeks from now, so that's fine. We've moved on. But I want to go back real quick if I can, because I want to... Okay. Yeah, okay, so that's actually a good point that Sneers made. if you're looking to get into the industry later in life, I would say your way into the industry is to make your own stuff and basically do indie stuff, unless you're just like spectacularly, you're just super gifted in some discipline and people are just like, we can't live without this guy. I think getting in the industry, period, is a challenge right now, but it's also not, for the same reason. Like, so getting in a company, I mean, my LinkedIn right now is just tons of looking for work. Now, the thing I'm curious about is when we've got, it's like looking for group, right? Like when you've got 12 people sitting in a zone saying, you know, cleric, fighter, wizard, rogue, looking for group. At some point, somebody's got to get them together and be like, hey, you're a group. And then if they're the right group, then hopefully, you know, they can make a little something. But the thing is, like, I think indie teams, I see it with a lot of, you know, my former colleagues, friends and stuff. You know, if you're looking for work for 6 months, a year, year and a half, I would recommend, as part of that, and I know it's a sacrifice and it's easy for me to say, and I don't want to be empathetic or whatever, but it's like, be working on something. And ideally, I mean, we have connections within the industry. Like, look around and be like, all right, I'm a programmer, you're an artist, want to sort of doodle on something? Just stay active, and you never know, and then maybe shoot for like making a little something, and then see if you can get it out there, and then see if it can help get like the ball rolling a bit. Or I guess you could just be like, hey, let's work on a MMO as an indie team, which is insane, but so far it's working out. It's just taken us a while. Rio Forever says, now I've got Duran stuck in my head. Rio Forever says, first time playtesting a game, really enjoyed it. Nice work so far. Hey, thank you very much. I'm glad you're here. Reassure us you're still on schedule, please. We're still on schedule. We'll see. I mean, going through the end of the year, we'll really see if we can keep holding on, right? Like, and then the thing with schedule is we can either increase capacity, we can increase the time, or we can reduce scope, right? So we can stay on schedule. The question is, are we on schedule with everything we wanted to do or whatever? Or are we on schedule and hitting a point where, like, we don't need to get every single thing we'd want to get in. We don't even necessarily need to get everything that's on the schedule in. What we need to get in by early access is enough for you to be happy. We have to get the right amount to make the right number of you happy. And that's a challenge. And it's not one target, right? So it's, as you're playing these playtests, if you're like, hey, yeah, I'm basically kind of having fun, but like, there's a lot of shit that needs to change completely before I think it's ready for early access, then, I mean, ultimately, we'll see kind of like what that balance is and, you know, where we're at as we get closer to November, December. So, Elf Area getting crafting stations, crafting trainers for next test. I think that's probably feasible. Are they in their forever home? I don't know. But we're definitely going to be giving Fail and Draw and Evershade some focused love before September. Carolus Rex said, it's less what you know and who you know. Getting into the industry it can definitely be like that. I'm trying to make a RPG solo and it's hard. Making an RPG is hard. You know, like, what is between an RPG and Flappy Bird? And I'm not being sarcastic. I'm saying, like, look at that kind of thing. Chip said, Ollie made the boats. I fixed some of the bugs for this test. Well, they're working a ton better, and I mean, people. I was reading some people their comments just about how epic it was to just sit there and take that ride. I was actually pretty excited because some people had mentioned like the run from Night Harbor to Keeper's Bite, the zone we're in now, and the boat ride from Night Harbor to Keeper's Bite felt like really epic. They're like, oh man, it felt pretty epic. If and when we get the other coast of the game in game, it's so much longer of a trip. It is a long trip. So that's really hey, what's up, Robert? The lovely Robert. That's just, I mean, that's the big dream is that we are blessed to have the opportunity through earning your interest and sort of dedication to paying us $15 a month, that we're able to actualize the full continent and have it feel really like grand. Have it feel like a very epic journey between the cities, East Coast, West Coast. What's up, Red 6? So what you're saying is instead of one time a day, the other boat is going to be once every 3 days. There may be more than one boat, and players may have boats that they can launch whenever they feel like it on that path. So we have boats, and then we have, before we get to like fully controllable boats, maybe we have it so if you're rich enough and you've invested enough, you have a boat that you can launch on the path. It's not, you can't control, but you could say, I'm only going to go down to the, down to the troll area and back, or I'm going to go all the way around. So, and I would think if it takes a day to get from Night Harbor to Keeper's Bite, I would say it will take, going around the coast, somewhere between, I don't know, 4 to 6 days to get to East Tim, to get there. Not real life days, Kat. Unless you just stay logged in for an hour and hop off. I guess we'll have to figure out what happens when people just log out on the boat. Do they wake up in the water? It looked really cool to see the boat sail outside the dunes. Yeah, we have some like ambient boats in the background as well, but they weren't working this time around. They add a little bit of life to the ocean as well. Bigglesworth said, I used to know a Bigglesworth, and then he worked on America's Army after he left Sony. That's not you, is it? What's your Bigglesworth? First playtest for me, I got a fighter and a shaman to 12. Question about class kits. Any plan to expand the fighter and archer class kits? Amazing game, by the way. I was fully immersed the whole time. That's great to hear. Yeah, so Nick has mentioned that there are ongoing sort of plans for fleshing out not just those classes, but the rest of classes as well. And he's starting to stream. So he's going to be streaming more, and he is the person to go to and ask like deep, detailed questions on some of the thinking there, etc. You can also find him in Discord, but I think it's going to be fun getting on his streams and being able to like interact real time. And we miss stuff on Discord all the time. Blah blah blah. Gambling the whole time? Yeah, boat activities would be pretty cool. Can we have shrimping boats? Grix, I see where you're going there. An in-game hour is 6 minutes, right? I'm really bad at simple math. It's in-game day is 72. Math it real quick. See ya, Sneers. Wanted to buy zone line swimming around cliffs from SD to Fallen Path. So September we'll have all the zone lines hooked up. You should be able to swim all the way around the coast as well. Arthek said the wife crashed on a boat. She logged back in and on the boat even after zoning. Good job, tech guys. Will alpha access be available, or is it sort of maxed out? I don't think it's like maxed out, but how we wind up giving those out, it'll probably be a continued sort of like little lotteries and things like that moving forward. Zaprun said, I saw that the streamer, Jonah Vale, played Eminem. He liked it. He played on the PvP server and said it was better than Pantheon. Well, that's very kind of him. He was in here a little, 14 minutes ago. He was in here. So if you want to direct any questions directly at him, I'm glad he liked it. Yeah, we have some clips in our Slack on that topic. Had a blast during the playtest. Looking forward to the next one. Asian Candy, what was your question? Do I need to scroll up or can you repeat it? Yeah, our games are different. Like, Pantheon's different than this game. Both of these games are different from AOA. All three of those games are different from Embers, and all four of those games are different from all sorts of other stuff. They're just different games. That's why, like, when people are like, hey, could you please change this specific thing that you've said that you really want to keep for years now, so that you don't fail miserably, and we're like, nah, we'd rather just keep trying it. But the other games, these other games they've made those changes. You can check them out. Like, we're not telling people to go away. We're not like trying to be mean. We're just saying there's variety building in these various games. It's just, if you ask 100 people, you're going to get 100 different answers as to what they want specifically. And that is the fun and challenge of making a game. So Asian Candy Thought said, is the current PvP level gap rule allowing attacks within 4 levels final? My group, mostly level 11 with one level 12, was attacked by a level 15 player. We couldn't help our teammates because we weren't eligible to engage. It felt unfair and frustrating. Is this system being evaluated? All of PvP will be evaluated. I don't think I'm speaking out of turn when I say that. But I mean, we'll look at it. We haven't like really gotten super deep in it. And this isn't a diss to the PvP people. Like, I got in a back and forth with some of the folks in Night Harbor on Haradrol the other night, and I was just like, they're like, well, why haven't you done this basic thing and this other basic thing and blah, blah, blah. It's like, guys, we just kind of threw it up there so that you would have the PvP server while we're trying to just make the actual entire game run. When we say entire game, it's not like the entire game except for PvP. We're saying the entire game. Just trying to make it so that PvP and PvE work in the first place is our current priority. And then we can, because some of the things were like, yeah, but this is like a 15-minute change. It's like, yeah, that may be true. It's just our days are usually us jumping through our asses to do all the other 15-minute changes that we need to do in order to like have the game mostly work. So it's not like we don't like you guys. It's not that we don't want to support you or listen to you. It's going to come down to, one, taking some time to address some of those issues, hopefully before September. 2, I mean, again, if I'm reading the PvP Discord, There's, you know, there may be a certain number, like 30% think this is a good idea, 30% think it's not, and another 30% are like, you're both stupid. There will be things that are fairly consensus, and we'll try to find those things, and that'll just be something that like Nick and Ali and I and other people with a stake on, you know, there are people on the team that are interested in PvP. Matter of fact, we'll see how it goes. We have a person we've been talking to who's a really cool guy, very, very talented, very experienced industry guy, who we were talking to right before this playtest kicked off, about him potentially coming on board. And one of the reasons why we stopped talking to him during the playtest is he was like, hey guys, just a heads up, like, I am not going to be available for the duration of the playtest, because him on his own, we don't know him. There can be no like allegations of bias or favoritism, which I also got on the PvP server. Like supposedly somebody was being helped, and I was like, are you kidding me? So I checked the logs. I'm like, yeah, well that shit doesn't look legit. Anyway, we don't do that. We don't do that. Anyways, this guy on his own is already one of the highest level people on the PvP server, so I'm sure he's going to have thoughts. Getting comments like those doesn't happen when you don't do early access and just release a complete box. Gotta take the pros with the cons. Yep, and we do. But me commenting on stuff isn't me being like defensive or whatever. It's like, it's a dialogue, right? So I'm taking the cons and then I'm explaining my thoughts or rationale on those cons. But I like it. Like I said in the past, I would never want to make a game in a different way from how we've been doing this one ever again. It's been awesome. Does that make sense? Absolute target. Interworld, thank you for the follow. Whisk85, thank you for the follow. I'm trying to read some of this stuff, make sure I don't miss anything. Asian Candy, did that answer your question? My ramble? Cod said, I think people either don't know or forget that the dev team is all volunteer right now, and that a lot of the dev team have full-time jobs and this is our free time development. Yeah, and families. Crazy enough. I would say, what, the majority of the team? Well, the team is all volunteer. The majority of the team have day jobs, and I think probably a majority within that majority also have families as well. Speaking of, have fun. Okay. Data win? We can do that in a minute. Solid stream, but now you're going to let us back in, right? Unfortunately, no. Let me make sure nothing... do you guys wipe at all between playtests? Pause. Do you guys wipe character data between playtests? I will insert a word there. Like anything below a certain level of playtime. I don't think we do, actually. Really itchy. No. Oh, okay. So was this your first playtest, Impact? We've been trying to carry over the data as long as possible, because people have just been getting in and putting in a lot of hours, and it's allowed them to level up a fair bit, and that's been really nice to be able to see, like people hitting higher and higher level content. Because the people in Friends of Family / Closed Alpha can tell you we've got content up to 60, and you know, it's not like, again, we're starting with like basically one region and change, so it's not like I'm trying to say all the, you know, there's anything resembling everything we want to get in, but we have a fair amount of content in. And so it's nice for people to be able to kind of continue to explore and see that. So when we see people in their 20s and 30s and stuff, that's cool and that's helpful. And I think it helps people maybe see that there's more to the world that we have than maybe they see on my streams or some of the other streams or whatever. How much of the team is expected to go full-time in EA, or is that going to depend on subscriber numbers? It'll depend on subscriber numbers, Cryptini, and we will share those numbers. Because one of the things that'll be interesting is if the numbers are really crappy, then everybody can they can point and be like, haha, we told you shouldn't have had corpse runs. We want to show the numbers good or bad. And then if they're trending down for some reason, we'll tell you why we think that is and what we want to do to pick them up. If they're trending, up, or if they're doing well, then we'll tell you like what our plans are for utilizing the blessings that we have. So Talet said, had a lot of fun on the PvP server and met nothing but good people. Was able to get to 26 on my SK. Yeah, I saw you in there running around. Are we going to get merch before or after EA? I don't know. We've still got to decide on the team about that and get the shop ready to go. I'm going to scroll down a little bit, so I might miss something. Whisk85 says, are you willing to clarify information on stats or what they are yet? I.e. strength, blah, blah, blah. That question comes up a lot. And I think we just need to talk on the team about like what exactly our approach is going to be on that and how much we're going to provide, and then provide it. It exists. There's a lot of documentation on it, so that's why. But it's not. I'm primarily handling content and getting. I do a lot of like content and production stuff, like producery stuff. And I sit in and kind of listen and chime in every once in a while on the system stuff. But then systems is primarily Nick, Ali, Runaf, and then depending on the specific thing, like Rift is doing trade skills and stuff like that. So, are all the stats active at this point, or some not fully implemented yet? Don't quote me on this too hard, but it's my understanding that they're all active. There may be further integration into some formulas, or there may be some that are more active than others, but I thought they were all active and all working in various formulas, but the formulas are constantly being tweaked and rebalanced and stuff. Robert, have fun in the sauna. Oh, especially if you're still listening. Hey, Justin Beard, my dear friend. Sorry I missed you earlier. I saw you and I meant to respond. Is it Gen Nexus? Or do you say it like Genesis? Either way, thank you for the follow. And I thought I think I've thanked the other guys. Tachyon said, just want to drop in and give my thanks. I was never an EQ guy, but I was hooked this last week and think this will resonate with a lot of people. Why were you hooked? Because a lot of people are like, so many people comment on the, it's just people trying to tap into the remember berries of the past, man, and rose-colored glasses, and it's like only 5 nerds that really like this about EQ are going to play. But it's like we feel like we're very intentionally picking certain things for certain reasons from certain games of the past in order to create a specific feel. Now that feel is not going to feel good to everybody, and I'm sure there will be some comments on that comment on the internet, but it's the truth. And what's been interesting is watching people on our team even who they never played EQ. They're from a different generation, more WoW folks or whatever, like really start to get it and lean into some of these things because they get what we're shooting for with that. And sometimes we'll even talk about like, hey, what if we tweak this a little bit? And they're like, no, that'll screw up the vibe. And it's like, all right, this person who is not even from that background is really getting it and pushing and saying, what can we do this other thing that may actually reinforce the feel, right? So it's been a very cool process. I'll show you some numbers in a minute, and maybe that'll help validate some of this as well. Nicholas Bad, Rip Von Skeletal, thank you for the follows. Let me scroll up again. Tachyon, I'm going to scroll down and see if you responded. Not yet. Okay. Yelling at me takes up a lot of Sean's time. The Slack version of me. I'm a very nice guy. What's up, Swanee? We're going to show off some of your numbers in a minute. What percentage would you say the game is at right now? I would say we're at like, I don't know, 75% of 80% of what we're really wanting to nail for EA, which I think will be a higher percentage of the systems, core systems and gameplay, but like 20% of the content. Trill Surge, thank you for the follow. Do with those numbers what you will. They're kind of bullshitty numbers. Ballpark. Another business question from Cryptini. What's the agreement with the volunteers devs looks like? Future profit sharing? Yeah, profit share, salary where it makes sense, contract where it makes sense. Again, all dependent on revenue, and phantom stock. Here, let me find something for you real quick. If you go to Monsters and Memories, if you're interested in this stuff, Monsters and Memories. Cryptini, this is for you. If you go to early access, it's got the early access stuff, but if you come down here, we've got development costs and post-launch plan. Development costs breaks down our costs to date. For those of you that have never seen this before, I guess we probably do have some new people in here. Like Trail Surge, if I didn't say thank you for the follow, thank you. So if you come here and you go to, like, if you haven't seen any of this, roadmaps. Hey, Death to Gnomes. Death by Gnomes, sorry. We got, you know, some forward-looking information. If you go to here, you can kind of see our original deconstruction of the game. We try to update this, you know, whenever we put an update out. But we've had this forever, and this is kind of like a status update, sort of. But it's basically a deconstruction of what we thought the scope of the game would be. And we haven't really deviated from this. You can see there's some stuff that we put over here or whatever. And then there's, you know, so it's funny. Like, well, we talked about this the other day as if it was, Goblin, are you out there? Look, see, well, I didn't just make it up in Slack, right? Like we had talked about like this tavern chat and stuff like 4 years ago. So we deconstructed the game early on and like, hey, we think this is the scope of the game that we want to make, all the way out to like project. The original like name of the project code name was Project N for nostalgia, and then we have Project NPC. So play as a monster, play as an NPC. That's way over on our like, we'll do that in early access kind of thing. And so we just have kind of deconstructed everything that we thought was critical to establishing the core of the game. And that was, that's been around for a while. Let's see. But yeah, for Cryptini and others that are curious about like what we've been tracking coming up to now, but then what are our plans post-launch and how are we going to take care of our people? Yeah. And so we've already talked to the team about like what we think. I don't think there's any reason for me to not say here. One of the things that we're going to try that's maybe unusual, it's not unusual in the startup world, but it's unusual to a lot of companies, is we plan on, because it also makes a lot of things simpler behind the scenes, we plan on paying our team members the same rate. So whether you're customer service or you're one of our programmers, all of us make the same rate. We found a rate that we felt was a reasonable middle ground for people, you know, and it should be for certain jobs. It's a very, very good salary. For, you know, a lot of the other sort of jobs looking at the industry standard, it's like, it's kind of in line. And then for some people that are used to making like a just shit ton at like, which we have some people on the team, like one of our, you know, like, I'm not getting into specifics, but we have people that have really good day jobs. And our thought was like, we're just gonna, hey, because we, you know, that feeling of, oh, this person is typically in their role within the industry paid a third of what this person is, but they're putting in, they're just as valuable to our success. Let's actually elevate that. Let's find a middle ground that's really good. And we bounced it off the team. The team seems happy with it. And that's how we'll approach salaries for our people that aren't full-time. Then it will naturally just be an hourly sort of like breakdown of that for the part-timers. Those people that want to take any sort of salary of that sort or pay of that sort. And then everybody will be in the profit share. And then, yeah, and then we'll just kind of go from there. So anyways, I mean, I don't know that you give a shit about that, but since you're asking business questions, that information's here. You can find it on the website. That information I just shared is not on the website yet because it's something we've just been going through with the team. So we're trying to be good guys about stuff, and we'll see where that gets us. Maybe it won't work, and then we'll prove that sometimes certain things don't work. But if it does work, then hell yeah, then maybe we can influence some other companies to not be shitheads. Are stats something you don't want to totally reveal? In terms of like in-game stats, yeah, I mean, there's a certain amount of mystery and like theory crafting and stuff that's kind of fun to encourage, and you know, also allows us to stealth nerf stuff easier, I guess. So I asked a question before and then promptly went on a ramble and then missed it. But I do see that Tachyon responded. Dirty Old Sock said, I got banned on Reddit this weekend because of those dorks. Where did you get banned? What subreddit? Hey, Goblin. I was just mentioning you, actually. CEOs should be paid their lowest paid employee. The good thing is we don't have a CEO. EverQuest subreddit? Uh-oh. Oh no. What did you do? I'm scrolling back up because I missed it. Tachyon said, I haven't played an MMO like this. And then I'm scrolling down. There's probably like a better chat system I could be using to make it easier to find this stuff. Oh, okay. I think just relying on other people, it seems that all the mechanics you're integrating promote that social cohesion. Everyone's so helpful. There's a lot of stuff that's like, maybe this is a little too far, but like some of the stuff is like we've talked about in the past, and I've got to stop saying like so much. Some quests will teach you this, and some newbie quests will teach you that, and some newbie quests will show you where certain things are. And the hope was like people that went on this quest, if they actually were willing to do the quest, which honestly, if we need to put a bigger disclaimer in there, that's kind of like, if you're not patient, if you're not really down for this kind of quest, maybe just go kill stuff. You'll be happier. But anyway, like if you've run around and done some of the quests and you figured it out, that's your shtick, that's your thing. Then when people ask questions, you know, in theory, you could be a good guy and be like, hey, I actually know how to do that, right? And it was meant to encourage a lot of communication in OC, because everybody for the last 4.5 years have said, no one's going to talk in game. No one's going, the days of social gaming are dead. Goblin, I mentioned, it's funny, we were just talking about this the other day, and I was like, I swear we've talked about this in the past, and it probably, I think sometimes I say stuff and people are like, yeah, you're just making that up. And I was like, no, I swear we talked about this. check it out. On our Trello board, Goblin. Where was it? Chatting communication to be discussed. Tavern in chat. We discussed providing a benefit to being in certain spaces like taverns and inns. Several of these came in the form of assistance when looking for groups. One idea is global LFG chat is limited to within these spaces. If we find that this provides benefit in the form of social friction in these areas, then we could experiment with similar global channels exclusive to different spaces, such as class chat in guilds or trade and auction in specific market areas. No one talks in OSE. It was only people telling others to get good, Boomer. That is not true. That is misinformation of the worst kind. That's what I'm supposed to label it these days, right? What's up, Simon? Speaking of cool guys with cool day jobs. Let's see. What about opening up some kind of program in future that lets community contribute content code in open source format and then team likes it every... It's just tough because we got to have everybody then sign like a PIA and then... I mean, honestly, one of the challenges with doing that type of setup is having the people and the bandwidth to actually curate all of that and check it. It's tough. Coin weight is under evaluation. Runaf actually has a proposal on that on our desk. It's going to be awesome once traveling merchants are out there, bringing their meals around to camps out in the wilderness, trading with people. I hope so. I really hope that works out. Any thoughts behind gathering collectibles? Or music buffs, aka New World. I think stuff like that will come in over time, to be honest with you. As part of like the core to the game right now, it's not up there. I really like the collectible, sort of like the shinies in EQ2 as well. It's just, it fit well with kind of like their collectible system, and I don't know that we really want that type of interface. And it's just, there are a lot of things out there that are really cool ideas, and I've enjoyed them, or people on the team have mentioned enjoying them. But we look at it and we're like, is it gonna work in our environment? Syriad said Playtest heavy as fuck, all styles. That's also a proposal from Runaf. Runaf, by the way, is kind of quiet behind the scenes, but he's doing a lot of number crunching, balancing, and so it's constantly putting forward proposals, tweaking stuff, you know, running updates and things like that. So super good person, and also just been really invaluable on the balancing side of things. So if you check on the team page, you'll see Runf there. He currently works at Bungie, so pretty cool. Another one of our... We've got some people on the team with some really cool backgrounds and stuff. So if you haven't checked our team page, you may not see it. I don't know if everybody's on there yet. Man, the dog was on my lap earlier, and I feel like I got either a hair in my nose from my dog or from getting a haircut earlier. A lot of people sitting around the campfire chatting, people in the bathhouse, people at the taverns. Yeah, it's working. Tachyon said the only major critique I have is full groups feel a little overpowered. Also being discussed. Yeah, so this is the time for us to run into that stuff, right? Ideally, we're not having to do major rebalancing during early access, but we'll invariably be doing some rebalancing during early access because, you know, I forget who it was. Was it Raph or was it Rich Vogel or one of the one of the veteran like industry guys? Was it John Stats in his book? Somebody had mentioned, oh no, was it GZ during one of the interviews I did with him? GZ of EverQuest fame. Fucking Stream Deck. Do your thing, Stream Deck. You're about out of here, buddy. If you haven't watched the interviews with those guys, I did a bunch of interviews with... My stream deck's so not responsive. There we go. Bunch of interviews with EQ people. And I think maybe he's the one that said every time you add a 0 to your player count in testing, you find an entirely new set or tier or batch of like bugs. Like you find a shitload of new bugs every time you add a 0, right? Which makes sense. And so invariably, we've learned a lot from friends and family. We're continuing to learn from the closed alpha and from these play tests. Once we go into early access, invariably we're going to run into even more stuff. But the hope is that we break as much stuff and learn as much and make these changes based off of your feedback and critiques now, so that we're not having to hit it as many of them in early access. In the past test, how impactful were stats? Didn't really notice much. I could not tell you. And it's funny, I know there's been discussion on that, but like I said earlier, I am more the content guy and I try to keep my head in that a little bit, but there's so much going on that like no one person on a team's got all of it. I always get scared when teams have like the person that knows everything. Like, really? Either they're super geniuses, which could happen. I am not. Or they think they know everything and they do not. Or there's not a lot going on. So that's a good question for Discord RPG. And or like if you see Nick streaming, hop in there with him. He can absolutely handle topics like that for you. Playtest was great, had a lot of fun. Game is looking amazing so far. Keep up the good work. Craviel, thank you very much. Trill Surge said, Trello board has a lot of backlog work, but I really like that you guys showing the business aspect. Does it still have a lot of backlog though? I'd have to look at it again. It's been a while. I felt like most of that was getting cleared off unless it was on that far right side. If it's on the far right side, that's honestly, it's like non-critical for EA kind of stuff. Like I said, like play as a monster, some things like that. Hey, Mudpan. Mudpan said, had a blast. Can't wait for EA. Thank you. I hope you come back to the future play tests. Thoughts on giving early access players one-time race change if the race isn't available at EA launch? No. We can't do it, Aaron Gunn. We can't. That's a bad precedent. You're going to have to reroll. I know. It almost seems like we're just trying to milk more of your time out of you, but nothing could be... Okay, I won't lie to you. With Sada didn't get to bathe with Nick for very long. Who said Quatos? Okay. I was like, why does that sound familiar? That sounds like... Goblin said, you know what I saw? A shit ton of people wearing a variety of shirts under their chest slot. Was super cool. Nice. Validated. Now Gastrobias, I think. Hello, in the game every class can get unique legendary items that gives them new skills or passives. Our focus will definitely be on making interesting gear, if I understand you correctly. Like we like clickies and worn effects and stuff like that. It's always fun to collect. Eelmuck said, love the game, longtime EQ player and fan. That said, there are some quality of life features that don't exist in order to match that nostalgia. For example, buff timers without inspecting the buff, or in-game static maps without having to alt-tab. Is there a plan to release these, have these sort of things developed? I think we've answered the map thing a ton. The map thing is, if we can get in interesting looking static maps that... then we'd like to. We've talked about that for a couple years. Like, we've wanted to have, like, you know, cool, quirky maps, and like 4 different versions of a Night Harbor map, where one's clearly drawn by a goblin and it's like half-assed, but maybe you see something interesting on it. Like, We would love to do something like that. That's more, I think, been just a logistical question, not a philosophy question. With regards to buff timers without inspecting the buff, some of that is aesthetic. Some of that is also do we want that occupying like your periphery, and or do we want to try to encourage you to develop more of a sense of timing with those elements? It's one of those things that we play around with and we're like, this still kind of feels right to us. On some of this shit, you know, like, and the funny thing is, like, everybody that really, really challenges it strongly, some of the decisions that we make, like, on the various forums, are like, they'll see the moment they don't have the numbers they want, they'll automatically put those things in. Well, yeah, maybe, probably. Who knows? Maybe not. Like, you know, if we look at a thing and we're like, hey, we tried this and we wanted to see if it would work and it's not clicking, and then we change it, then it's like, aha, gotcha. It's like, yeah, I guess. I don't know. Like we said, we are playing with stuff the way we want to play with it, and then if we don't like the result, we will change it. Yeah, that's if only you'd listen to every word from the beginning, you'd be trillionaires. It's true, Dargith. Hello, Dargith. How are you? And that's not directed at you, because you were asking the question. You weren't prescribing a solution. And anybody that is currently offended on Reddit or the FOH forum or whatever, this wasn't directed at you entirely either, but kinda. So I guess you're going to be offended either way. The ego on that guy to make a joke in return for us saying that he was fucking stupid. Yeah, I guess. What? We don't get to say anything back? Cryptini, that FOH shout out was for you. You're out of line, sir. Sorry. Oh, I need to set up the language thing on here since we're no longer doing we used to stream a long time ago. We used to stream on software development or whatever. And so we didn't have it like with a little 18 thing. I need to turn the 18 thing on because I do make swear words on here. So I'm sorry if you had this blasting in front of the kids. Earmuffs. Every once in a while I will say something, and it really pisses people off when I say it. I swear I'm trying to talk like you talk, guys. This is how we talk behind the scenes. We might as well talk on stream, right? Mad Sal, thank you for the follow. So I do need to bring up Swanee's numbers. Swanee is basically the link you gave me is now updated, right? I just refresh. Is that how technology works? And Cryptini, I say that with all the love. I think you guys are hilarious over there. I really do like you guys. I hope nobody there is like, oh, he thinks he's, no, I almost like a few times in past years was like trying to dust off my login, and then like account recovery is always busted, and then I was like, do I just make a new account? Every time I'm just like, whatever, because then the other thing is I think on that forum, I think it's fair to say that I will not be able to respond in the manner that I would like to respond there. In a manner that is equal to how I will be talked to. Does that make sense? I don't know. It probably sounds pretty whatever. I'm sure I'll get my balls busted. Whatever. Rook. Really? Is that true? Is that a true story, Rook? I honestly, I thought about it, Cryptina. I was like, you know what? I think it's just better to acknowledge that I read, and then just be like, I think I've hit Quaid up on, you know, like in our Discord with like a response to something that was in there, but I don't. I think it's better. I think it's good for you guys to have your spaces where you can say certain things. I remember like 20 some years ago, there was an FOH update back when it was like the original thing. That was when we had first released, like, cause I created the Cursed as like a young designer, the Cursed cycle. And there was a stick figure drawing on like high school notebook paper. Maybe I'm remembering this wrong. Maybe it wasn't actually notebook paper, but there's like a stick figure drawing of two EverQuest developers that were, there were stick figures with giant penises, and they were breakdancing and stuff, talking about how badass the Cursed was. And the Cursed was like not a stick figure, it was like a snake with like a stick figure hand that was like just shredding stick figures everywhere. And the basic gist of the story was that the Cursed was kind of broken when it went live in terms of damage output and its multiple death touches. But he did have AoE Charm. That was fun. That broke the server when we first tested. I was like, can we do AoE Charm? And the spell guy, Lawrence, was like, hell yeah, man, I think so. And then we made it, and it fired off and like crashed the server. And so the programmers actually had to figure out what, I mean, obviously Charm is bad enough, like doing AoE Charm, but it was like, I mean, that was the thought that went into making that encounter, was like, can we do an AoE feign death so everybody just falls over, but they're not really dead? Cool. And then can we hit them with a mass charm? So anyway. Does NWC have an HR person on the team? No. No. But that may eventually... We have a lawyer, though. We actually do have a lawyer on the team. He's going to be so busy, I think. And that's not like foreshadowing. That's a joke. That's not foreshadowing. Please don't be foreshadowing. It's foreshadowing. Malsarian said, can confirm that interviews with the original EQ devs are fantastic, especially if you were playing EQ during those early days. Yeah, there's some just great people, and you're very welcome. I've tried to have Smed on like 53 times now. Smed keeps ghosting me. He says he'll do it, and then he ghosts me every time. It's like Lucy in the football. Rook said, I started watching these streams because someone on Reddit said that the Leave Dad told me to just go masturbate after I tried to give him advice and could not investigate that. And then I asked if that was true, and he said, yes. First of all, I clicked on. I jumped to a random midway point, and you were talking about putting nipple rings on giants. And I was like, all right, I should probably check this out. Never actually found the masturbate comment. No, it's very innocuous. I just watched the viewer count go down 90% in the last 10 minutes. I'm kidding. I don't know what the viewer count is. I don't follow the viewer count. It would be weird. Tarkat followed. Thank you. I'm sorry. I saw Tarkat followed as I was seeing your lol. My brain froze. You gotta understand. We're trying to have fun, and this is a very, very difficult, stressful thing that we're doing, but we're trying to have fun with it. Quatos, I hear you, man. Legal, can I say this on stream? Yes. No, I think actually I just need to check Slack constantly and see if Legal has sent me any I think it's probably going to be more like a you shouldn't have said that on stream. Vaporgistic, thank you for the follow. Would love to have class-specific legendary armor weapons to grind for in-game. Mudpan, one of the things that we've talked about in the past is we've only got one of many regions in so far, right? So we've got well, two started, right? We've got Califrey started now with Keeper's Bite, Evershade Wield and Phelan Draws in there, and then Scarwood's going in. We want to flesh out more of this region over time. Big mountains back there. The High Elves are up in the mountains. Some nice cold forests beyond this to the north, going into the frozen lands. That's not the real name, but they are frozen and they are lands. And then we'll start to move east. And as more of the world comes online, then we can start to do like the kind of the more... Excuse me. I'm in Germany, so it's after dinner, so I burp a lot if you're new here. It's like 8:13 p.m. So anyway, like we want to have more of the world in place before we start doing things like epic quests or even mid-tier like crazy, you know, trade skill quests or armor quests and things like that. Tovex asks, aside from Smed, are there any other EQ history interviews that you're still chasing? Not chasing, I'll be honest. It may not seem like it, but I am so, and I think everybody on the team is kind of in this boat. I'm so kind of stretched thin. There's so many things that I could be doing. Even if I feel like my day is managed well, there's so many other things that I could be doing. And like lining up those interviews actually wound up being kind of a pain in the ass in the past. I love every one of them, but it was like a lot of following up with people and trying to make sure they have the time. And, you know, like this is the middle of the day for people. And it was fine when COVID was going on because people were working from home and they could do interviews and stuff like that. But like, yeah, so it's like, I'm French. Swanee is French. Let's see. I don't want to show the... I'm trying to see, like, I don't want to show the full page, so I'm going to copy and paste some stuff. Alpaca Lover, thank you for the follow. Love the playtest this weekend. Keep up the good work. Hey, thank you. Fail and Draw is on fire. Can't wait to hold down that fort. Snoozy, glad you like it. Yeah, we still got a fair amount of work to do in there, but I think it's really gonna be a special place once we got it done. Ucater, thank you for the follow. Darius said, hey Sean, didn't get to play much this playtest, but honestly I enjoyed losing my corpse and having to loot other folks' leftover kills in order to rebuild my character. Felt like survival mode. What server was that on? Can I ask what August is called in game since I won't have access to check time next month? Ask me in Discord and I'll look it up in our documentation. I don't know them by heart at the moment. If you show them the whole page, well, I can show the page as we go. I just don't want to bring up the... Like, I guess if I had planned better, I guess I could like reduce it down to not show certain parts of the page and blah, blah, blah. So I'm just going to copy and paste some stuff in here. I think it makes sense. I think it'll work. Vaporgistic said, welcome, really loving M&M game. Appreciate that. I'm always curious where you guys, like, what your background is. So if you don't mention it here, join our Discord. And, dude, my stream deck is, like, so poopy. It's not doing anything I want it to do. Commands. Oh, maybe it's good now. There we go. Join our Discord, and we have an introductions channel. Like, no joke, it really is cool when you guys introduce yourselves, because we get to see, like, some people are like, hey, I played EQ for 25 years. Other people are like, I've never played EverQuest. I was too young. Other people are like, I'm a Final Fantasy 11 freak. Like, and it's cool to kind of see, like, where everybody comes from. I don't want to say like anymore. Level 60 will be available at early access launch. What's up, Bill? Was it intentional to have a giant wall to keep us out? What, this place that we're in now? No. You should have been able to get in. Okay. So, let's look at some stats. First stat, you probably don't care too much about, but let's look at it anyway. Because you should care about it because we think it's an important part of what we do. So we'll do this. We'll do that. It's pretty bright, huh? Let's make it dark, because I know you guys like your dark mode. Is that better for your faces? Speaking of, I haven't even looked over to see, is my green screen being wacky? No, I think it's good. I think we're good. Mostly fine. Here, it's so bright in here, I don't... One day I'll fix up my setup so it's not as janky, probably. So, one set of stats that we're proud of. We had 428 petitions, 421 closed. I guess we probably have like 7 open petitions when the servers went down. I think we stopped looking. Sorry, if you petitioned in the last like 30 minutes. We'll get, well, we may get better tracking of like average petition time in the future. But, there's like 7 people that will be petitioning at the beginning of the next playtest. Help, I'm under the world. Oops. But yeah, I think we asked Swanee, and our belief, because the queue stayed at 0 most of the time, like no bullshit. We probably have like a 10-minute, you know, like a... Yeah, that's not true, because invariably there were some people out there that waited 20 minutes or more, if I had to guess. But the average time is... Let's just say the average time is a solid, pretty good. Mathematically. Live servers algebra. Let's see. All right, so some session stats. Yeah, well, the thing is, I mean, we're going to continue to improve our tools, and we're going to be posting our first GM job posting in the near future. And we're going to be really, really, you know, no offense to anybody that maybe like applies and doesn't get it. We're going to be very particular as we're bringing on GMs, because like I said, everybody on the team is getting the equal treatment, and we want to make sure... Oh, it's going to be bright again for a second. We're just bringing on like powerhouses. All right, so that was one stat. Because I think what we'll see is the team is not going to be able to sustain what they've been doing, right? Because instead of working on certain things, you know, some folks have just been doing CS and stuff like that. So we will be working on scaling our customer service capability as we go into early access. But we're using this to gather data on like what it kind of looks like. So we are for as silly as we may be, or I don't know, I don't want to say we, like I think Nick is more serious, like more professional on his streams, and Zukin and Goblin and stuff like that will be, you know, but for as silly as we pretend to be in Discord and on stream, we are definitely approaching this in a very serious way. I just grabbed, let's grab these stats right here. Again, this is all part of like one set of pages that we have behind the scenes, but I'm afraid to show you, I'm afraid to just be like, here's a page, and then accidentally show something that's like a security risk or some shit. So, or just show you our secret capabilities. What percentage of petitions do you think might be related to kill steals? If I had to guess, I don't know, no more than 30, but I think probably below that, because you also get, whenever there's kill stealing or camp issues, you'll get multiple petitions. A lot of times you get there and they probably worked out. Oh, see, Swanee agrees. And Swanee, by the way, Swanee is the guy that puts these dashboards together and has created our customer service tools behind the scenes, which I would love to be able to show you, but again, we don't necessarily want to show you everything. And he's not only that, but he's also he's always, you know, top 3. I'm going to say top 3 because Nick cleared the most petitions. I cleared the second most, and then Swanee is a solid third. Usually he's up there in number 1 or number 2, but had some family time this weekend, so I was desperately trying to like best him. Let me triple check and see if that's actually, am I lying right now? Oh yeah, I beat him. Okay, I beat him by 9. Cool. Yeah, he went to the beach. And maybe like 15 of the petitions I answered were test petitions I submitted myself and quickly closed just to pad my numbers. If you did a /bug report, zombies, then that goes into our database, and that's part of that other number here. That's part of the 872 bugs that got submitted. And then poor John NS will be going through there and getting those, basically looking for duplicates, consolidating that down, and then getting those in for us, and we'll have those as issues. Excuse me. We want to get something, though we know that a lot of folks, excuse me, like I said, just after dinner, a lot of folks won't necessarily use it, but we do want to get something that's more community facing, so you can see what stuff we're tracking. Anyway, let's look at playtime. So we had 6,500. Let me say it a different way. We had 6,584 unique. Couldn't you use AI or LLM to collate all the multiple bug tickets? To some degree of certainty, yes. And that may be something where we utilize like LLMs in the future. Maybe even like a homegrown one. To help like with duplicates or whatever. So that type of thing absolutely makes sense. Zombies, thank you for the follow. I wanted to find another. So here, I'll show you this in parallel. So these are our CCU curves. And here's a more detailed view. You might have seen these dashboards throughout the weekend. So you can kind of see our server curves, but you know, pretty good curves. I would say pretty good curves. Clearly we have some stuff to work on, right? And this is one of the things that we'll be looking at and just kind of like digging into and seeing what events are, right? Because they're not perfectly smooth. There's definitely there's some things that we can look at and go, hey, if we didn't have that crash, you know, like right around here, or what was crashing, because there wasn't like a formal crash. You can see the spikes here with like probably, if I had to guess, coming over here, this is mapped to here, so this is maybe where Krivia's Night Harbor dropped or whatever. Yeah, so we can look at that and see, where was the momentum killed? Are we having like some issues that are chipping away at the ability for people to stay in? Because that's not a natural sort of behavior, we don't think, given the numbers that we're pushing. It's not like it's super, super low, but it could be. It could be the fluctuations of 30, 40, whatever are causing that. But anyways, this is stuff that we're going to look at. Not quite as fun as this stuff. What we... where's the other one here? Here, I'll grab this one real quick. We'll put it on here. And we'll get this stuff packaged up and put in a little mini update for you. If only there were in-game maps, those valleys wouldn't even be there. It's true. It would just be one flat line. The biggest, flattest line ever. 6.5k users. Wonder how many of those are boxers. If I had to guess, probably not a truly significant number. And I'm not just saying that. Because at least anecdotally, the number of like people that I've ran into, especially with petitions and this and that, the number of like boxed accounts I ran into wasn't super high, and when I did run into them, it wasn't like a ridiculous number. It was like, you know, 3 here. I think maybe somebody was like 4 boxing or something. So yeah. CCU peaks declined every evening. Going to be down to 100s of people. Dargith, I see where you're going with that as well. Yes. It's true. All right. So pretty normal curves. That was nice to see. Natural sort of decay over time. I don't know if that was truly natural, but I think one of the things that we see pretty apparently in like previous playtest numbers is this first like 20% or whatever has been higher in the past, and it's gotten lower and lower based off of the fact that I think we've churned people and they will not come back. And I understand that in most cases you want everybody always, right? But we said we're a niche game, and there's certain things that we want to try, and we know it's not going to be for everybody, and that's fine. So if they don't like it and they don't come back, and then over time we see people who do like it and they do show up, as long as the number of people that show up are enough, then we have a little business, right? And I know that's a ridiculously pedantic thing to say, but Swanee said we had over 1,000 new accounts created each day during the playtest too. I don't have that one on the page. Yeah. So Royce Blade said, I'm in the 0 to 2 hours because I didn't have enough time to play. I keep my experience unspoiled to EA. Yeah, this doesn't necessarily mean like just... Well, I'll just do that. Can you see that? Or should I actually... There are a number of people that are just in here, probably not in the 0 to 4, to be honest. That's 0 to 4 is probably technical issues. And that's something for us to look at. Like those 0 to 4 accounts are those technical issues. Because then they churned and just didn't come back. But we're going to keep looking at that, and like has been mentioned in the past, we'll do pretty explicit funnel tracking so that we can see if we're losing people in the launcher, if we're losing people between like install and download, etc. What does the napkin math tell you? These kind of what does the napkin tell you? These kind of numbers project into subs. Like does 3.5k DAU equal X subs predicted? I don't think there's a good way to do that prediction. It could be that everybody, once it comes time to actually pay us $15, nobody pays us $15 a month, right? That is one end of the spectrum. It could be that everybody at this point is aware of our business model. People appreciate the fact that it is going to be $15 a month. The ones that don't like it, the ones that come into OOC or mention on this YouTube video's comments or whatever, subscription model, dead game. Those people, those people probably have churned somewhere in here and probably aren't coming back. So my assumption is that most of these people realize that we're going to have a subscription-based game and like that fact. And so then, it could be... Then it becomes more a question of, can we retain them for more than $115? Like, what's their LTV? What's the lifetime value? So, how long do we retain these people? So, 6,500 unique accounts playing over the last 5 days is mapped out here in terms of the number of hours that they played. And if you look here, again, starting at basically, if we go 0 minutes to an hour, well, let's go 0 minutes to 30. Now, realistically, people could have gotten frustrated anywhere in here and quit and decided not to come back. So it's nothing I'm saying is super scientific. But let's just say, like, probability indicates that, these people that are dedicating 2 to 5 hours plus, let alone 25 hours plus, which 25 hours plus over the weekend was 1,263 people, right? So these line up here. So we had 122 people play for 4 minutes or under. We had 786 people play for 30 minutes or less. We had 547 people play from 30 minutes to an hour. We had 660 people play for 1 to 2 hours over the weekend. My dog's whining in the background because Jasmine just came home. 982 people play for 2 to 5 hours over the course of the weekend. 878 people or accounts, let's say accounts, were 5 to 10 hours. Because again, maybe it was one person playing 878 accounts. We had 548 accounts play for 10 to 15 hours. 798 accounts play for 15 to 25 hours. And then 25 hours plus was the biggest segment with 1,263 hours. And we can, if you're interested in the 50-hour club, I guess we can pull, Swanee can add that and we can look. And so, yeah, I didn't think the 1,263 was going to be that big. Originally, we only had this broken down to like 10 hours. And it was like really heavily weighted on the 10-hour side. Obviously, right? And so we stopped at 25 plus, and then it looks like we need to go bigger. But this is pretty good stickiness, right? So the average account's playtime was 12 hours and 12.6 hours. So the average account across all of these was 12.6 hours, which is, I would say, pretty good retention. So that means that some people... We've heard that literally only hundreds of people will play the game as it currently stands. And so I guess it is at least 1,200. You know, and then the next argument could be, but is that enough to run a business? And so then the question is, we have 33,000 registered accounts. Some of those are GM accounts, some of those are test accounts, and naturally we've got duplicate accounts. But you know, this comes out to like 19% of the registered accounts actually engaged with this playtest this weekend. So that's not bad as well. Are these metrics from the life of the respective accounts or just this test period? We haven't we haven't gone back to see, were there accounts that played in the previous playtest that didn't play in this playtest, and then, you know, kind of going forward or whatever. Naturally, we realized there are people that weren't available this weekend. And there are people that don't want to... I think some of you mentioned this earlier, and I just kind of missed it. Sorry. Like Core said, personally, I'm enjoying the game, but I've only played this playtest and one last year. I don't want to burn out on early game content. Yep. So there are a number of people that are part of that 33,000 registered accounts that aren't going to invest heavily. Nomer just said another important one. Feel like a lot of people don't want their characters wiped, so they are waiting for EA. Absolutely, completely understandable. There are people that just don't want any spoilers before EA. They're not looking to be the best. Right, they're not looking to just be highly competitive on day one and know where everything's hidden. Trill Surge said, based on the group that I played with, we had one quit within the first 1 to 2 hours, and the rest of us 6 played at least 15 to 25 plus hours. Main thing that broke the group was PvP server issue where bards could basically keep a group messed. Right on. Yeah, and we'll see. Hopefully, as we go into EA, I mean, naturally the hope is that as we enter early access, the game is even better than it is now, and we've addressed different issues. There was a question about Broken Stoic said, has there been any discussion about initial entry into the gameplay and friction points for new players? We have an actual full Confluence page of first time user experience, suggestions and questions. And the thing that we're always going to balance is, does this remove some of the like social engagement, or is the value that it's providing better than, how do I say this? Is this potentially removing important social engagement? And if so, does the good outweigh the bad in that scenario, right? So, but there's obviously a lot of little shit that we need to fix and clean up in the new player experience. And so we'll see about that. But like, the thing is, there are a number of things like with the quest and other stuff that we were talking about much earlier in the stream where we can make it so that it's just, you can't get confused, you can't get lost, you don't have to ask questions, you don't have to talk to anybody, but that's not this game. So we're always going to have to balance those things. Jaderade, thank you for the follow. And there's a lot of stuff that I think if you're watching this and you know, watching the VOD or watching a clip somewhere or whatever, excuse me, or you know, and you're commenting either in Discord or on a forum or Reddit or whatever, there's some of these things where and certain individuals may just never agree with us that the thing we're doing is important or makes any sense at all. And folks can say, we're just doing it because we're lazy and we just said, just do it that way. Or, you know, well, I mean, in theory, we could be bad designers. That one may be valid. We could be trying stuff and it's just because we're not good designers, I guess. You know, that happens. But a lot of stuff we talk about all of it a lot behind the scenes. And we're just really wanting to tap into a specific vibe. And to us, maintaining that feel is more important than, like, we're willing to accept risk in order to hit the vibe. Aaron Gunn, if you submitted a wall of text, I probably missed it unless it's the one that I responded to. And this is going to sound really, I think for a lot of people, this may sound really stupid. This may not seem like it's going to, you know, that it makes any sense. But for some people, there is a sense of accomplishment in persevering through certain frustrations and then knowing where this thing is, knowing how this thing works, knowing that there's an extra command that does this other thing. Setting up a macro that now mitigates this thing. You know, people are like, well, yeah, but the old games weren't hard. Well, sure, the old games weren't mechanically challenging. And as somebody that was you know, like I was the expansion lead on Planes of Power, we spent a lot of time like going, oh, how do we add in more positional stuff? I mean, you could say like, even Nagafin was an interesting positional fight, right? Like, you know, or I guess you could say it's not interesting now, but at the time, right? You know, but like even when I put in the Saren fight within Planes of Power in Torment, you know you eventually figured out how to cheese the shit out of it, and you could pull mobs all over the place to make them. But the idea at the time was like, hey, you had the bird that flew around and stopped every once in a while and shrieked and had to silence, right? So you had to move your people around. It was like we were thinking about positioning early on, and I think over the years, teams got better and better and better at it, and it became, all right, so there's the logistical challenge of getting set up for raids, there's positional challenge like safety dance early on and all this, like don't step in the fire, and it became more like, all right, how attentive are you? And I think in EQ, it's like, oh, do you have a bomb in your backpack? Oh, you know, can you repeat the lyrics to a song? Like, so all these different games were doing these things to add in more difficulty. But the original difficulty of EverQuest that a lot of people kind of say in a way that kind of shits on it was like, it wasn't hard. You just had to like endure through a bunch of bullshit and invest a huge amount of your life into advancing. Yeah, but that's, for some people, that's I mean, that's a challenge, and it's an attainable challenge, and it's a thing where, hey, you know what, like it's democratized down to, do I want to invest the time? You know, like a lot of stuff kind of, yeah, and some of it is learning the mechanics and game knowledge and paying attention. There's clearly there's a huge difference between a level 60 cleric that is really good at playing and my level 60 cleric, right? So, you know, there is learning there. So anyway, I got off on a ramble. I'm reading now. No one tell him about standing at the window on Saren? I thought at some point you guys just pulled her out of the tower or something. But it doesn't care. It doesn't care. I don't care, because at least at least he got swallowed by a mob. That's all I wanted to get out of that zone. Coors says, as someone who never really played EQ, the vision of the game feels unique to me, which is draw. I found, and I'm really hoping over time as we stack on more and more just content using the systems that we have, that the world just feels really deep and fun and interesting. So I'm going to look at these numbers again because I feel like I've gotten sidetracked as usual. This is why we'll do a quick write-up or whatever. I'm going to be gone Wednesday through Sunday at a music festival. But we'll see if we can get something out tomorrow. And if not, then we'll get it out to you at the latest next week. A little update with the numbers. There's going to be no cash shop in our game. We're doing subscriptions so that we don't have to put a cash shop in. And if the game makes less money because we're not, going microtransactions and stuff like that, then so be it. But that's been our call since day one of making the game. We do have the Trello board up. I was just showing it earlier, actually. Consensus on boxing is that we'll have boxing specific servers. If you guys have not checked out here, FAQ, that early access FAQ covers a lot of this stuff. Oh, I was answering a different question. Perfect. RMT. One of the reasons why we're investing in tools now, like, again, not showing the tools, but just showing some of the data that we extract from the tools, is we want to make it easier for us to track down, let's just say, certain events. We do a lot of event tracking that allows us, if we have a suspicion that something's happening. We did this a lot with the petitions that we were looking at. Those of you that maybe just tuned in didn't see how many petitions that we handle this weekend or during this playtest. 421 petitions. A lot of what we're doing is going through our tools and looking at how best to track certain event types and things that are going on, transactions, etc. And so I would say already it's very easy. If someone says we think this is happening, it's a lot easier than it's been on other games I've worked on in the past to identify whether or not that actually happened. And then what we want to do is, as we start to get a good feel for how we track down how certain things happen, we'll put in additional flagging and then also additional automation so that we can see, okay, yeah, this is actually happening. And I'm saying that in very general terms because it can, the ideal is we're looking at everything from simple stuff like movement hacking to utilization of certain other programs. Oh, noise in the background. Jasmine's getting a dog food. And then where was I? Like move rate hacking all the way down to certain behaviors and definitely transactions and stuff. And then once we've got that in a nice place, then we'll continue to try to refine our automation so that we can flag that and go, hey, this looks suspicious. Let's review it. So, penny in the keys to keep your character moving in a circle. I don't know that we'll track that, but if your character's I'm not even going to say it. There are things that it'll be interesting to see if you guys decide to do them, how hard it is or isn't going to be to spot that. Yaba and Pezzy, thank you for the follow. Sketchy Kitch, thank you for the follow. Missed it earlier. About total number of players and servers according to the dev team. What is the optimal number of players on each server? And what is your wish for player capacity per server at a time? as the world grows, that's going to radically change what we think the capacity of the server is. So that's one that we're going to have to play with a little bit. So if we look here, and it's an interesting one to kind of answer because you guys asked the number like how many people on a server, but is that concurrent or is that over the course of a day? So if you saw earlier here, let me kind of move this. One of the things that I've mentioned in the past is when we've looked at like other game stats and when we've talked about like daily active users versus concurrent user count versus monthly active users. I think in the past I've mentioned like a rule of thumb that I've used a lot on past games is like kind of a rule of 4. So if you've got 1,000 concurrent players at prime time, like peak, then multiply that times 4, that's probably your daily active users, and then multiply that times 4, and that's probably your monthly active users. And so one of the things that we saw here is, let me grab this. I'll go back and grab these curves. And again, it's, you know, rough rule. You'll see how it's not necessarily true. So here, so we averaged 3,530 unique players. Sorry, I'm reading again as well. Did you say that 4x EAU equals MAU roughly? It has on games I've worked in the past, yeah. And I think I did like an extrapolation. And again, the guys on Pantheon, if you wanted to tell me if I was right or wrong or not, feel free to shoot me a DM. But like if you look at the fact that they had, I think in those first couple of months as they were hitting their high CCU high point, I thought they got just below like right around 7,000 concurrent. So their peak was like 7,000. At the time, they had also sold like 110 plus thousand boxes for so 6,800, and then they like it was like 110,000 ish or more, not counting their people that they already had on Steam. And so then if you look at like 6,800, let's just round it up and say you know, say 7,000, I guess, if you want to, or round it however you want, multiply it times 4, multiply it times 4 again. That kind of falls in, that's in range, right? So that sounds about right. And again, we saw something kind of similar here. Sorry, Twitch is telling me it's reconnecting. Hopefully it reconnects. There we go. So peak daily users 4,000 uniques, average was 3,530, but that's also counting this half day in here. So let's fudge it a little bit and say roughly 4K. And our concurrents then were just below, you know, I think we hit 17 something, 1750 or whatever, and then probably around 1,500. Right, so kind of ballparkish. Clearly not exact, but the reason why I'm mentioning this is, and you say, well, how many people on a server? Well, we have you know, we're looking at what can the content support at peak capacity. And right now we have one major city, one city that's in progress, that's a smaller city. And it was supporting, you know, 1,500 players peak. Every race is planned to have its own city. Top left. On the top left, you have how many unique on the server. Why am I blind? the accounts. They're like, dude, it's right here. Why am I missing this right now? My caffeine is like starting to fail me. Top left of paint, not the image. Oh, sorry. Unique accounts on the server. Right there. Yes, obviously. Rel had 38,000. This makes it even better. These guys are like, this guy does not know what the F he's talking about. Sorry. Yeah, so Rel has 3,800 over the course of the entire playtest, but not per day. I was looking at, that's why I wasn't thinking about this. I'm thinking about in a given day, what's the distribution? And we should, I guess we could probably break that out. Swanee could probably do that for us. Because this is just telling us over the course of the 5 days that, and we can also pull in today's data as well, I guess. Sari had said, the way you describe the vastness, it almost feels like each race having its own city kind of makes me feel like it'd be sparse for people. We'll continue to just allow people to come into that server, right? Like, so the goal is to continue to push people into the server throughout early access. And I think having each city kind of come up in its own time will help pull some people in. Even if they just roll an alt and play for a little bit, it'll help populate it. And then by the time we get done with early access, we'll have a much better feel for like what a 1.0 launch may be. Do you know which classes have or have not gotten their final ability passes? I don't think anybody's gotten a final ability pass. Consider it all work in progress. What's the most impressive thing accomplished on the open play test in my eyes? I would say, even though we still had some issues, and we'll continue to track those down and make them work better. I think the stability and the overall stability and performance, though it will continue to improve, I think putting 500 people into a city zone and having it work is pretty good in my experience. What classes still need the most work, in my opinion? Kaylor, I would, in my opinion, I would say I'm not as well informed as I need to. Well, I don't even know that I need to be. I will deflect that over to Nick's stream so that he can talk to you about that. Archer comes up a lot. There was another one that was, I think, Archer. I'm spacing. No, that's not it. Nope, that's not it. Was it Beastmaster? Spellblade. I think Spellblade. There have been comments about Fighter. Inquisitor. So it's funny, like some of the ones that we put in that were a little unique, definitely. There were some comments about Wizard, right? Like, so that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know which ones like needs it the most. I know that there's a lot of feedback coming in. There's a whole thread on like monks and monks being boring, and some people saying that they like them and don't like them. So yeah, I mean, in my experience, the discussion of my class needs something or my class isn't where I want it to be is going to be going on until the game is like shut down. But getting them to a nice, like, solid starting point, again, I think some of that's going to be a matter of opinion, but with some of them, we know that they're very, very in progress, right? And then there's certain questions that have come up, like, what are we actually going to do with ranger tracking? How's that going to work? Is it even going to be a thing? Right? Like balancing some of the various healers against each other, right? All of that stuff it's a whole. That's why I'm like not even try to bullshit you and act like I'm informed on it. That is one of those things where I like sticking my head every once in a while and seeing what Nick and Ollie and the guys are talking about. and chiming in sometimes, but I've got a lot of other stuff to worry about. So goblins, ogres, gnomes won't start in Night Harbor. Witzer, no, they should. Night Harbor is going to remain a very cosmopolitan place, and the other racial like cities aren't necessarily going to preclude different races from starting there. It's just going to be different levels of support, different quest availability, things like that, if that makes sense. Do you think EA may hurt the game due to impressions of an incomplete game? I can say no. I mean, the truth may be that yes, but like we have been open about the game's development since we started, since even before we started. And so you can go back and like watch the history of the evolution of the game. People have stuck around since before we had art. We put out as much information as we can as humanly possible. We're streaming, we're posting the VODs, we're answering questions, we're always on Discord. We've let people play test for, I don't know, how long now? Over a year. For us, early access is just a continuation of the process that we've been doing. If a bunch of people come in and they check it out for the very first time and they're like, oh, this game's not finished, and they bail. Okay, but like we'll already have kind of a core player base by then. And if they like, people are bailing all the time, that doesn't mean they're not going to potentially come back. If you guys are in and you're having fun, then people at some point may be like, ah, shit, I don't like this and that about it, or I played and it was super laggy, or whatever the complaint is. And then they're like, but people are playing it and having a good time. If they try it again and it's more to their liking, then maybe they'll stick then. No plans on implementing chat bubbles at this time. What happens to corpses when the servers come down? Do bodies remain in excess? Yeah, they should. Don't do a Pantheon. They open early access. I mean, we've told you when our early access start date is, so there's not much of a like. Don't do the thing that we've posted we're gonna do. We're doing the thing that we posted, probably in the time frame that we posted it, because we like to hit our dates. You know what I mean? Like, and again, if people check it out and they're not into it, then they're not into it. But like, we're not doing a marketing push and stuff. We're not going to be like, as long as you have content support the player base. Yep. I mean, we'll have the content that we go live with, which is more content than we currently have, which is a decent amount of content. And then we're already working on the content for the first major update after we go into early access, if that makes sense. Chester said, hey, bro, like, I don't know what's going on. My eyes are so dry. Like, my whole everything dried up while I was streaming tonight. I'm like, it may have been I had too much caffeine today, and now I'm starting to crash. It's only 9 p.m. Let's see. Chester said, hey, had a blast the last 5 days. Thank you and the team. Hey, it's good to see you. Let's see. I thought I missed something up above there. Do you guys have an idea of the target sub cost for EA? We're targeting $15 at this time. Going from volunteer dev-based Dev base from a game that's just labeled as a passion project because the company hasn't earned any money. Once you go early access, how do you think this will affect how many devs you have on a team, as regulations generally change once the company starts earning money? So we've got a service that we're going to be utilizing to essentially assist us in going through, because we've got people in a ton of countries and in different states. So we're using a service called Oyster HR. And they handle all of the labor law and locale specific taxes for us. So we've already started working with them, getting that on board. And then depending on what revenue we have coming in is that will determine how many people we're able to ramp up. And then thank you, Shiden. Yeah, so essentially we're working through that. It absolutely will change the nature of the relationship that we have with the team, but we're doing our best to already like plan ahead for how that change is going to work and account for that. And in terms of volunteering, you can volunteer for a you can volunteer to work on a for-profit endeavor. Yeah, again, we have to look at it locale by locale. But I think one of the bigger challenges is if the individuals that are volunteering at some point, this is what happened with the guide program in the EQ days, if I'm not mistaken. If you do things like set the hours that they have to have, and the more you start treating them like regular employees with regards to stating that they have to behave in a certain way, the greater your risk for legal risk is, the legal vulnerability. Anyway, all this to also say that one of our team members is a lawyer, so we'll, like I said earlier in the stream, we'll keep him busy. Bad Guy, the game it will have a sub, yes. Sobaman and Christium, and I think I said Pezzy already. Thank you for the follows. Yep, there's absolutely some stuff that we want to address on the UX side. That stuff is piling up on our page for that stuff. Cymonk said, if at some point in the future you find the need to shut down the game servers because the game is no longer profitable, do you have a plan to make the game playable through other means, or releasing server software to the community for self-hosting? Yeah, we got a lot of ideas on that front, actually, because the game kind of started from our relationship with different people who have emulator backgrounds. Like Ali has worked on a number of MMO emulators in the past, and it's something, the preservation of games is something that we're passionate about, to the point where we've talked about if we ever had the cash from what we're doing with our games, then it would be nice to maybe start a nonprofit or something that allows us to help preserve other MMOs and other games. So time for another coffee. Dude, I crashed so hard. So I went to the barber earlier and I got so I had like 3 coffees, which is kind of normal, but like I had 3 coffees and then went and got my haircut earlier, and my barber was like, brought me a nice ice cold Red Bull. And I was like, I probably shouldn't do this right now, but I was like, live a little. And then after I had the Red Bull, I was feeling a little crazy, so I went to the kiosk next door and I bought this monster. And then when I got home, I put it in the fridge, did not have it right away, cooked dinner, and then came right in. Well, started drinking this and then came in here, and now I've actually crashed, which is nice because it's 9 p.m. And that means by the time I crawl into bed, I will actually literally just fall asleep. So sorry if all of my energy just dumped. It was nothing any of you said. It was no question. It was just, I just got the vapors. I'm like hot and sweaty. And my eyes are like foggy. Is the memory leak something you guys are aware of? Yes, trust me. Yes. And every playtest helps us track that sort of stuff down more and more and more. If we hadn't had the playtests that we've had previous to this, I mean, every playtest is hugely beneficial in helping us track stuff down. More work on my arm? Tat looks colorful today? Nope, I haven't gotten new tat. Everything on my arm is over... Everything on my arm is, I'd say 30 years old. 29 to 30 years old. Do you think you'll ever buff the radius of the campfires? The radius of it seems small. Is there a better version as you level up? Binks, maybe a better version. A leveled up version would be pretty cool. Hey, thanks, Nox. Nox Dragon said, my old guard of EQ1 alpha beta testers had a great time. That's nice to hear. So many people have mentioned that they were there with their family, that they were there with old friends, you know, people that they haven't played with in 10, 15 years. A number of people had like a significant number of their guild or their friends with them, you know, sometimes like 5 or 10 people. So that's pretty cool. I'm scrolling up to see if I missed anything crazy. What's the philosophy around expansions? Will you raise level cap and make old content obsolete? We're hoping not to raise the level cap. I mean, it's something that we could always do to some degree. And then with regards to like making old content irrelevant, when you guys see places like Night Harbor, first of all, you guys are running around, and some of you found the sewers, but there are a couple other little mini dungeons in Night Harbor that I don't think many people have utilized. There will be more added in. There will be full dungeons in and around Night Harbor that you'll discover over time. It may not be until sometime after 1.0 hits. The hope is for us to build out this continent, build out this game world, and continue to seed it with additional dungeons either below or even further below in the deep, you know, or maybe above you when you look at things like the citadels. So the hope is to make it so that that it's very densely packed with content, and it's a place that you don't feel like you've got to leave over time. You can always go on expeditions, go out to different places, but you should always have to come back to the known world. Is it intended to keep cooldowns when you scribe a spell you haven't used? It's a good question. Like, but then we need to be able to know whether or not you've used it within the last cooldown period. Otherwise, it's like unmim the spell and then, or unscribe the spell and then just add it to beat the cooldown. I may be saying that wrong. Again, Nick's going to be streaming more, so I think all of those questions are great ones to grab him with. Will we add ambient creatures at some point? Maybe, but it's pretty low on a priority list. Opinion on changing corpse runs to keep spellbook? My opinion is we aren't going to do that anytime soon. We've already got people that are getting like used to banking their spellbook. We've talked about some things like before you guys go off on that, we have talked about things like whether or not you forget your spells when you die, or if you forget all your spells if you die, or if you can flag certain spells as essentially being why am I spacing on a term now? Because I've crashed from lack of caffeine or too much caffeine. Cantrips kind of thing. So it's like I keep, Snot got it right after. So cantrips, so it's like basically I keep IVU when I die. And you get to select that. So we've talked about some stuff like that. And we'll probably play around with that long before we just say, hey, we don't want that to be, a thing, the whole spellbook thing. Intentional that fighter doesn't need to remem skill. Yep. Martial classes. Well, I mean, skills in general. Skills are different than spells. Let me scroll back up so I'm not seeing anything you're asking right now. Seems to be a lot of contention on the current mechanic system. Yeah, but that contention has died down, I would say, about 70% since back when there was a lot of contention. Now there's just significant contention within a small, a smaller group of people. Zombies, I'm not going to remember that in here. If you want to write that up and post in Discord, it'll be easier to find in the future. But I appreciate you write up. Like, I'm skimming it, but I would actually have to stop and read it, and then I'll get even further behind. Weight limits in general are going to be looking at, we're currently looking at the weight of stuff. I mentioned earlier in the stream that one of our guys has even put forward a proposal. The person that's doing a lot of the balancing work has put forward a proposal on making some changes there. So we're aware of it. I mean, it's not early access yet. So we're absolutely going to be changing stuff and fixing bugs and normalizing things and making tweaks and updating formulas and all that stuff over the next like 5 months. And then when we get into early access, we probably still will be tweaking things. But there's a lot of work for us to do right now. Nux, thank you for the follow. Love the game so far. When's next test going to be? Next test is in September. Be sure to join our Discord. We got a bunch of info up there. I have to click the button 3 times every time. Tachyon, thank you for the follow. What about passing a book between people, having them scribe spells to it? Seems like an exploit to me. I don't know. That seems interesting to me. Well, we're trying to put different problems in front of you and then see if there are interesting ways for you guys to solve them. Thanks, Bigglesworth. All right. So I'm crashing. I'm crashing out, as the kids say. Opinion on gamma setting abuse. It's funny the terms that get used sometimes, and I'm not picking on you. I don't mean to pick on you. Shuko, I'm not picking on you. But like abuse. Well, we put the slider in there, so you can use it how you want. Our hope is that we're able to find a nice range that allows us to mitigate the issues with the differences between hardware while still keeping it so that it's not completely busted. There's somebody had a nice post on different, like a couple people have had some suggestions, and we've had questions in the past about whether or not we can do some data manipulation based on light sources and stuff to make it not just a visual thing. We'll absolutely follow up on that and see, is that something we can do? What are the implications there? When could we get that done? If everybody had the exact same hardware config and was seeing the same level of darkness or brightness on their monitors, then we wouldn't have a gamma slider. We would just set it where we want it. But the unfortunate reality is that different hardware is rendering the scene differently. So, and that is unfortunate. That is unfortunate. Because we'd love to be able to set it to exactly where we think it is perfect and have everybody have that experience. But that is not the case. Yeah, if you turn your game up, you're abusing you're abusing yourself, and sometimes that's fun, but you just shouldn't do that too often because you'll go blind. Robert, I think I just covered that one. I think I think we just happen to coincide, oddly. Yeah, it's a theme here, Rook. All right, guys, I apologize, but it has been a 2-hour stream, and so I am crashing. So I will get out of here. Is anybody from the team streaming before everybody leaves? If somebody's from the team streaming, I can raid them and then you can ask some more questions, but... Oh, that video, Quatos. Nyak. That video is so inappropriate in this context. Goblin, hop on. All right, we'll see. Maybe everybody. Hopefully, everybody didn't leave. Goblin's gonna hop on. He'll do some wonderful art. Goblin, are you hopping on? We'll get all this data summarized. I honestly didn't cover everything that you wanted to see here. While we're waiting for Goblin to get it up, where is the... Oh, actually it's not here. Is that... All right, we'll follow up with like a breakdown of the various classes in here and the distribution of like maybe time spent in classes, like all of the stats, the top poop soccers, everything. We'll have it. All right, so thank you everybody. If you're new here, at the end of streams where we're not throwing it over to somebody else, I try to say goodbye to every single one of you. I'm not going to be able to do that tonight. We're just going to raid. That was phrasing. We're going to raid Goblin. He's going to work on some more beautiful art. And then I will see you guys next week. I'm going to be gone Wednesday through Sunday listening to heavy metal, probably in the rain and in the mud. Appreciate all of you being here. Those of you who are new, thank you very much for coming. Those of you that have checked out the game for the first time, this playtest, thank you for checking it out. Those of you that are frequent enjoyers of the game, God bless you. And so good night, all of you guys. Have fun to music. Thank you, Bigglesworth, Ishwatari, Choose, Soulfire, Macron, Wickersloth, Bill, Knell, Rook, Finks, John, Pipes, Perez, Quatos, Jacardo, Bis, Dan, Viper, XV, Matthias, Shoes, Sweet Tachyon, Robert, Just Drop, Amnesiac, Scheiden. I'm missing all sorts of people. Banks, is that a unicorn or a middle finger? Czar, Chad Wellington, Mudpan, Amnesiac, 1K, Kelger 2000, thank you for the follow. It's a peanut, then that is awesome. Peanut, is that peanut? Dude, the burp peanut's so good. Excellent raid. Okay. Taksumika. Hey. Alright, guys. Lanhila. Cool, let's raid. Let's ride. Why doesn't it just put Goblin right at the top of my list? Why do I need to go looking for Goblin? It knows what I want. I'm still here. I'm still... I thought I broke Twitch, to be honest with you. Is the raid working? It is, okay. Cool, we're raiding now. I'll see you guys next week. Thanks for being here. Goodbye.